Fusako Seino, who is also recognized by the alias Sachiko Yamada, is a Japanese woman whose life was irrevocably altered at the tender age of 9 when she was abducted by Nobuyuki Sato. This harrowing ordeal lasted for an agonizing 9 years and 2 months, spanning from November 13th, 1990, to January 28th, 2000. In Japan, this tragic event is infamously referred to as the Niigata girl confinement incident. On that fateful day, Fusako, a 4th-grade student, vanished after attending a local school baseball game in her hometown of Sanjo, located in Niigata Prefecture. Despite extensive police efforts, the search for the young girl yielded no results, leading authorities to even speculate about the involvement of North Korean intelligence operatives. Her abductor, Nobuyuki Sato, born on July 15, 1962, was a 28-year-old man grappling with mental instability and unemployment. He forcibly took Fusako into his vehicle and subsequently imprisoned her in the upper level of his apartment in a residential area of Kashiwazaki, Niigata Prefecture, a mere 200 meters from a police substation and 55 kilometers from the site of her abduction. Initially paralyzed by fear, Fusako eventually resigned herself to her grim reality. Reports suggest that Sato restrained her for several months and resorted to using a stun gun as punishment if she failed to record horse races on television. She endured threats with a knife and physical assaults. Sato provided her with his men's clothing and ensured she received meals 3 times a day, either instant food or dishes prepared by his mother, who resided on the lower floor. He also took it upon himself to cut her hair. With no bathroom or bathing facilities available in her confinement, Fusako was permitted to bathe only sporadically at the discretion of her captor. Throughout her lengthy captivity, she spent the majority of her time listening to the radio, and it was not until the final year of her ordeal that she was allowed to watch television. Although the door to her prison was never locked, she remained confined within those walls for nearly a decade. She later informed the police, "I was too frightened to escape and eventually lost the will to do so." Sato's mother resided on the lower floor and seemingly had no interaction with her son's captor, as he exhibited violent behavior whenever she attempted to go upstairs. Nevertheless, authorities suspect that the mother must have been aware of Seino's situation. For instance, it was reported that she bought feminine hygiene products for the victim. In January 1996, Nobuyuki Sato's mother, then 73 years old, sought assistance from the Kashiwazaki Public Health Center due to her son's erratic and aggressive behavior. She made another call on January 12, 2000, and again on January 19th, requesting a home visit. Officials finally arrived at the residence on January 28, 2000. Following this, Sato created a disturbance that led to police intervention. During this incident, Sano, who was 19 at the time, approached the officers and introduced herself, stating, "I was abducted near the school by a man who forced me into a car. For 9 years, I did not step outside the house. Today, I went out for the first time." Upon her rescue, Sano was found to be in good health, although she was extremely thin and weak from lack of physical activity, struggling to walk. She was also dehydrated and, due to limited sunlight exposure, had a very pale complexion and was suffering from jaundice. While her physical appearance was that of a 19-year-old woman, her mental state resembled that of a child, and she was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Shortly after her release, Sano was reunited with her family, though her mother did not initially recognize her, as they had last seen each other when Sano was just 9 years old. The local newspaper, Echigo Times, drew parallels between this incident and the Yotsuya ghost story, referencing Sato's address. In the years that followed her release, Sano's physical health improved, and she began assisting her family in their rice paddy. Due to her prolonged isolation during captivity, she continues to face challenges in reintegrating into everyday life, maintaining a limited circle of friends and often preferring solitary walks. Her passion for digital photography, particularly capturing the beauty of flowers, has flourished, and she has successfully acquired a driver's license. Neighbors have noted her enthusiasm for the local J-League soccer team, Albirex Niigata, attending several of their matches. The Sano family has chosen to remain silent regarding her traumatic experiences. In a tragic incident in 2007, her father drowned in a pond while they were enjoying a day out together. Nobuyuki Sato, aged 37 at the time, was admitted to a hospital on January 28, 2000, due to mental instability. His legal status shifted from suspect to criminal on February 10, 2000, leading to his arrest the following day. The Niigata court commenced his trial on May 23, 2000, with prosecutors exercising extreme caution to protect Sano's fragile mental state. The prosecution's strategy included even minor offenses against Sato, such as shoplifting women's underwear, aiming to secure a lengthy incarceration. Following a defense assertion of criminal insanity, psychiatrists determined on September 6, 2001, that Sato was mentally competent to stand trial, and he subsequently confessed to the primary charges. On January 22, 2002, the Niigata District Court sentenced him to 14 years, the maximum being 15 years. The defense filed an appeal on January 24, 2002, which escalated the case to the Tokyo High Court. On October 12, 2002, Judge Toshio Yamada reduced Sato's sentence to 11 years. Both parties appealed on December 24, 2002, leading the case to the Supreme Court of Japan on December 10, 2002. Ultimately, on July 10, 2003, Supreme Court Judge Takehisa Fukazawa upheld the prosecution's position, resulting in Sato serving a 14-year prison term. Sato received a sentence to serve time at Chiba Prison, situated in the elegant Chiba city of Chiba Prefecture, but he regained his freedom in April 2015. Tragically, around 2017, Sato was discovered deceased, alone in an apartment in Chiba City, at the age of approximately 55. Following the rescue of Sano, the Japanese police faced significant backlash. Sato had previously been on the police radar for committing acts of violence against another young girl on June 13, 1989, leading to his conviction on September 19, 1989. However, his name inexplicably vanished from the criminal registry, and he was not deemed a suspect in the abduction of Sano in 1990. At the time of Sano's rescue, the chief of Niigata Prefectural Police, Koji Kobayashi, failed to attend the police station to oversee the unfolding events, instead opting to spend his evening engaged in mahjong with the head of the regional police bureaus. This negligence, along with subsequent police missteps, culminated in Kobayashi's resignation on February 26, 2000, followed closely by the resignation of the head of the regional police bureaus on February 29, 2000. In 1985, the tranquil town of Kinston, North Carolina, was shaken by the tragic and violent demise of a cherished educator, Hokie Shepherd, who was brutally attacked and shot within the confines of her own home. For nearly 4 decades, this heart-wrenching case remained unresolved until the advent of advanced DNA testing brought forth a resolution in 2024. On that fateful day, January 8, 1985, the Kinston Police Department was summoned to the residence of the 62-year-old Hokie Shepherd, situated at 1100 East Caswell Street. A retired school teacher living in solitude, she was discovered by a friend in a state of undress on the floor of her home, having suffered a horrific assault that included gunfire and stabbing. The authorities were promptly alerted, and the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation soon joined the effort. Compounding the tragedy, her 1983 burgundy Cadillac was reported stolen, later located abandoned at a nearby elementary school. Despite exhaustive investigative efforts, the perpetrator of this heinous crime eluded identification. As the years unfolded, detectives remained steadfast in their pursuit of justice, diligently exploring every lead, yet the case gradually succumbed to the passage of time. At the time of Hoki's murder, forensic DNA technology was in its infancy, but investigators had the foresight to collect evidence that could be pivotal in future analyses. With the evolution of forensic science, the case was revisited, leading to the development of a DNA profile from the crime scene evidence, which was subsequently entered into the Combined DNA Index system. Unfortunately, this search yielded no matches, leaving Hoki's tragic fate unresolved for decades. In 2023, a renewed collaboration between the Kinston Police Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation led to the submission of forensic evidence to Othram, with the hope that cutting-edge DNA testing could unveil the identity of the male suspect. Othram scientists employed forensic-grade genome sequencing to meticulously construct a detailed DNA profile, paving the way for potential breakthroughs in this long, cold case. Upon the successful culmination of the investigative process, the DNA profile was entrusted to the Forensic Genetic Genealogy Team at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They meticulously undertook the task of generating fresh leads pertinent to the case. On September 30th, 2024, representatives from the Kinston Police Department presented the findings derived from the genealogy profile to the Lenoir County District Attorney's Office. This analysis pinpointed the suspect as Thomas Williams Wade, Jr., who was 28 years old at the time of the crime and had been initially questioned as a potential suspect shortly thereafter. Following the incident, Wade relocated from the Kinston area and spent the remainder of his life in Granville County, where he passed away in 2007. Had he been alive today, he would have faced charges of first-degree murder alongside larceny for the theft of Hoki Shepard's vehicle. This revelation brought a sense of closure to Hoki Shepard's family after an agonizing 39 years of uncertainty. Retired Kinston Police Detective Tommy Lewis, who was among the first responders to the scene in 1985, reflects on this case with a sense of pride, noting that he and his colleagues never wavered in their pursuit of justice. Throughout the years, Hoki remained a constant thought in his mind. Meanwhile, Thomas Wade III, the son of the suspect, discovered his father's status as a suspect through an influx of phone calls and messages following the Kinston Police's announcement. He feels that his father is being unjustly portrayed as guilty, without the benefit of due process, leaving him to defend his father's legacy. Thomas expressed his anguish, stating, "My father is no longer here, so why is my family being subjected to this torment and public disgrace? This is not justice. It merely reopens old wounds. Both the victim and the accused have long since departed. If my father were indeed guilty, he should have faced justice in life. Yet it seems the public has already rendered its verdict." Thomas asserts that he has engaged in a conversation with an officer regarding the case and is confident that the evidence presented does not implicate his father in the crime. "The evidence merely associates him with the assault," he remarked. "There is no weapon or fingerprints to substantiate their claims." Thomas aspires to redirect the narrative towards celebrating his father as a cornerstone of the community and a guiding presence in his life. He emphasized that his father was the kind of man who consistently prioritized his children and dutifully fulfilled his obligations. The Kinston Police have stated that they are unable to comment on the situation due to the family's ongoing legal proceedings against them. On January 31st, 2014, a serene gravel road in Greenville County, South Carolina, transformed into a haunting crime scene when the lifeless body of a local teenager was discovered, tragically marked by multiple gunshot wounds. For over 7 years, this case languished in obscurity, devoid of answers, until a pivotal tip rekindled the investigation. This led to a cascade of startling arrests and revelations, peeling back the layers of a cold case that many believed would remain forever unresolved. Today, one individual has been convicted, yet the complete narrative is only beginning to unfold. Before the fateful day, Marquel Marvista Helms was a vibrant 19-year-old brimming with promise and a profound passion for football. On that fateful January day, his body was stumbled upon by a passerby walking their dog along a tranquil gravel path near Davis Road in Piedmont, South Carolina. The grim discovery revealed that Markel had been shot multiple times and left to succumb in the woods. The responding deputies were immediately struck by the heinous nature of the crime, yet they were met with a dearth of clues to illuminate the circumstances. With no witnesses, no discernible motive, and no apparent leads, the investigation swiftly reached an impasse. Investigators meticulously sifted through the intricacies of Marquet's life, seeking to unearth a rationale for such a violent act. They uncovered that Marquet had been in contact with several individuals in the hours preceding his death, including former roommates, but the precise details surrounding the incident remained elusive. Detectives surmised that Markel had likely arranged to meet someone for an illicit transaction. He had entered a vehicle, but the encounter rapidly escalated into violence. Abandoned in the woods, the reasons behind his tragic fate remained shrouded in mystery. His former football coach poignantly remarked, "He is one of those players who, even if this tragedy had not occurred, leaves a lasting impression on your heart. If you took the time to know him, you would see he was a good kid, yearning for connection and care." As the years slipped by, the case became just another entry in a collection of cold files, with no fresh leads to reignite hope. The relentless pursuit of justice by investigators never wavered. They meticulously revisited the evidence, scrutinized witness accounts, and delved into every conceivable lead. Yet, the elusive answers seemed perpetually out of reach. The case teetered on the brink of being deemed unsolvable, but unbeknownst to all, a pivotal breakthrough was imminent. In 2021, a crucial tip from Crime Stoppers breathed new life into the investigation. The informant provided law enforcement with vital details that directed them to a vehicle associated with the suspects on the fateful night. This revelation ignited a series of events that would ultimately unveil the truth surrounding Marquel's tragic end. With renewed vigor, investigators concentrated on tracing the vehicle, which was ultimately discovered in Pickens County. The application of advanced forensic technology, particularly touch DNA analysis, played a crucial role in connecting the suspects to the crime scene. This sophisticated method, which detects minuscule traces of genetic material left on surfaces, uncovered the suspect's DNA on the vehicle. Armed with this compelling forensic evidence, the investigation gained significant momentum. Detectives soon reconstructed the sequence of events leading to Marquel's demise. They uncovered that on January 31st, 2014, Markel had arranged a meeting with his former roommates Raheem Gerard Griffin, Destiny Maria Fields, and Chris Thomas Catino, believing they were engaging in a routine transaction for substances. However, what began as a seemingly ordinary encounter turned deadly when the group ventured to a secluded gravel path off Davis Road in Piedmont. As the investigation deepened, detectives uncovered evidence of previous altercations between Marquel and the suspects, indicating that the crime was not a mere coincidence, but rather the culmination of rising tensions. These conflicts, possibly rooted in personal grievances or long-standing grudges, left the precise motivations behind the shooting shrouded in mystery. The ambiguity surrounding the motive did little to diminish the strength of the case, which was meticulously constructed through DNA evidence, a crucial tip from Crime Stoppers, and the statements made by the suspect. On April 15, 2021, law enforcement apprehended Raheem Gerard Griffin, Destiny Maria Fields, and Chris Thomas Catino, all of whom were charged with the grave offense of homicide, alongside criminal conspiracy and various related charges. Griffin was additionally charged with the possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. The trio was subsequently taken into custody and processed at the Greenville County Detention Center, where they remained without the possibility of bond. Following a 4-day trial on April 18, 2024, Circuit Judge Patrick Clubber Fant III imposed a sentence of 45 years on 31-year-old Raheem Gerard Griffin for the homicide, along with an additional 5 years for the weapon possession charge. Catino and Fields are scheduled to face their trials in the forthcoming months. This arrest and subsequent conviction marked a pivotal moment in the case, providing a semblance of closure for the Helms family and the community of Markale, who had been yearning for justice. In August 1934, the inaugural full-time Fish and Game officer of Idaho mysteriously vanished while investigating reports of illegal hunting in the picturesque Boulder Gulch, nestled in the mountains south of Mullen, Idaho. Ellsworth Teed's absence left a haunting enigma that lingered for nearly 9 decades. Born and raised in Clearwater County, Ellsworth dedicated many years to mining before transitioning to the role of game warden in Shoshone County. His fateful disappearance occurred in a densely wooded region near Mullen, approximately 100 miles southeast of Sandpoint. He had received a tip regarding the potential poaching of deer and game birds, and, having discovered evidence the day prior, set out once more to apprehend the culprits. Before embarking on his journey, he bid farewell to his beloved wife, Alma, and departed in his Model A Ford, equipped with a packed lunch. He parked his vehicle at the Mullen Cemetery, situated at the foot of Boulder Creek Road, and ventured into the forest. Tragically, Ellsworth never returned, and his family was left in agonizing silence. Alma recounted to the investigating officers that he always informed her of any overnight plans, making his sudden disappearance all the more perplexing. He was due to attend a neighbor's funeral later that afternoon, a commitment he would never have overlooked. Fearing the worst, Alma speculated that he might have suffered an accident or encountered foul play. A concerted effort ensued, with city, county, and state officers, alongside hundreds of volunteers released from their shifts at the Morning Mine in Mullen, the Bunker Hill Mine in Kellogg, and the Hecla Mine in Burke, scouring the hills in search of Ellsworth. Their relentless pursuit included the use of bloodhounds and aircraft, marking one of the most extensive manhunts in Shoshone County's history. During their thorough search of Mullen, they discovered Ellsworth's packed lunch and coat inside his locked vehicle, deepening the mystery of his disappearance. They also discovered shallow graves of deceased deer and evidence of closed-season harvesting of game birds in the area. Ellsworth was searching for the poachers, something that indicated he may have been interrupted during his investigation. The case of Ellsworth was considered to be the state's oldest active cold case. Though the body of Ellsworth Arthur Teed has never been found, his demise has long been considered a slaying. Ellsworth was reportedly slain by the very group he was looking for, and these rumors swirled about in the Mullen community for decades, but could not be corroborated due to his body never being found. Alma declared her husband deceased in a court of law on February 6, 1942, 8 years after his disappearance. She was awarded spousal benefits. That is where the case sat stagnant until decades later. The story of the missing warden had been passed down through generations. Over the years, each person had an extensive, detailed account of the alleged slaying of Ellsworth, and those accounts were all corroborated. Finally, in 2023, investigators believe they have solved the Great Depression-era cold case of the Idaho game warden who vanished in the mountains. In February 2023, Idaho Fish and Game accepted Ellsworth into the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial and Idaho Peace Officers Memorial to honor his service when he was lost in the line of duty that day in 1934. His award was covered by local news stations, prompting people to reach out to the sheriff's office about what they were told happened to him all those years ago. 4 people came forward with information about what they had heard happened. George Petland, his teenage son John Robert Petland, and another teen, Oscar Downing, were poaching deer in the Mullen area and came across Ellsworth. Petland ended Ellsworth's life, and the 2 boys helped dispose of his body. Captain Seth Green from the Shoshone County Sheriff's Department said in a statement in February 2024, "We went down and verified people's family trees. They all did interviews, and according to them, the suspect told people, and the story was passed down. We also knew they would not have been able to hear it from each other. That is something you have to watch out for. So we are closing the case. 4 people who all said the same thing. That is the best you can get for such an old case." Captain Green said the sheriff's office will not be releasing witness statements or any more detail into the alleged slaying. Officials also will not be going out to search for Ellsworth's remains. The area has had its fair share of fires and heavy rains, which could have moved the remains to a completely different area. Captain Green said, "The chances of finding him are slim to none. It feels good to have tracked down answers." Ellsworth's remaining family is relieved to finally close a 90-year mystery. Adeline Watkins, an investigator with Idaho Fish and Game, said the case is so unique because of how long ago Ellsworth went missing. There are no police reports investigators could locate, so most of their knowledge was through newspaper records and word of mouth. Watkins still hopes more people come forward with additional information, even though the case is considered closed, and was happy to bring the Teed family some much-needed answers and closure. Ellsworth was the great-uncle of Melissa Sears' husband. She knew his 3 sons. She said that they often discussed their father and how they wished they knew what happened to him. When he disappeared, his sons were between the ages of 8 and 14. They were all extremely close with their father. Melissa said, "It was heartbreaking. The family was ruined by losing him. It was a sad story for years." Melissa also shared that one of Ellsworth's sons was in his 80s when he passed away. Just before he passed, he was tearing up and crying, wishing he knew what happened to his father. She wishes his family had closure before they passed away, like they do now. Melissa said she is most grateful for the investigators and the people who came forward to help the family. Captain Seth Green of the Shoshone County Sheriff's Department articulated in a statement released in February 2024, "We meticulously traced the family lineage of the individuals involved. Each person participated in interviews, and according to their accounts, the suspect had shared information that was subsequently relayed through generations. We were aware that they could not have exchanged this information amongst themselves, which is a crucial aspect to consider. Therefore, we are officially closing the case. The consistency of 4 individuals recounting the same narrative is the most compelling evidence we could hope for in such an ancient investigation." Captain Green further noted that the sheriff's office will refrain from disclosing witness statements or any additional specifics regarding the alleged homicide. Furthermore, officials will not initiate a search for Ellsworth's remains, as the region has experienced numerous fires and heavy rainfall, potentially displacing any remains to entirely different locations. "The likelihood of locating him is exceedingly low," Captain Green remarked. "It is gratifying to have unearthed some answers. The remaining family of Ellsworth expresses relief at the resolution of a mystery that has lingered for 90 years. Adeline Watkins, an investigator with Idaho Fish and Game, emphasized the uniqueness of the case due to the extensive time elapsed since Ellsworth's disappearance. With no police reports available, the majority of their insights were derived from newspaper archives and oral histories. Watkins remains hopeful that additional individuals may come forward with further information, despite the case being deemed closed, and she was pleased to provide the Teed family with much-needed answers and closure. Ellsworth was the great-uncle of Melissa Sears' husband, who was familiar with his 3 sons. She recounted their frequent discussions about their father and their longing to uncover the truth of his fate. At the time of his disappearance, his sons were aged between 8 and 14, and they shared a profound bond with their father. Melissa reflected, "It was devastating. The family was shattered by his loss. It was a tragic tale for many years." She also revealed that one of Ellsworth's sons passed away in his 80s. In his final moments, tears streamed down his face as he lamented the unanswered questions surrounding his father's fate. She yearns for her family to have found the peace of closure before their departure, a solace that eludes them now. Melissa expressed her profound gratitude for the dedicated investigators and the compassionate individuals who stepped forward to support the family during this trying time.